Zhang gracefully finishes his lecture and closes the class for the day to the admiration of his students who deem him competent. One of the male students asks him not to end the lecture immediately, but to elaborate on another topic, but he hurriedly leaves the class with a promise to do that in the next class. Zhang exits the class in the wake of comments from both male and female students gushing over his competence and wondering about what he does in his free time. The girls form groups to discuss his looks and contest for his attention, which embarrasses Lin Wan especially because she was mentioned in the discussion by one of the girls. Zhang arrives home, totally exhausted from the day's work, and changes into his housewear as he casually drinks a bottle of water by the refrigerator. Later, Zhang learns that a student secretly recorded the details of his class and posted it on the internet, and the video has attracted a lot of attention from experts in the economic industry, who are full of praise for his knowledge in financial-related topics. The system rewards those with prestige, and since Zhang has now attained a level of prestige from the attention his lecture has been receiving, the system rewards him with 1,000 prestige points because of his newly found popularity in the economic sector. Zhang seems to be having a conversation with his inner person as a part of him disagrees with the lecturing proposition and the other agrees. Zhang also learns that the class earned him 40 points per person, which is much higher than most professions, and somehow gets convinced to take 2 classes per week, and he reluctantly agrees to it. After his next class, he receives a surprise call from Zhao Wuji. Zhang excitedly answers the calls and tells him that he is a visiting professor at the university. Zhao goes straight to the point by asking him to take a vacation to accompany him to Longquan, because they need to see someone useful to Zhang's future. Zhang meets with Zhao Wuji and sees that his health is not getting any better, and he is slowly becoming worse in his wheelchair. Zhang has been waiting for a suitable reason before giving Zhao the life of Dan, but resolves to give him at that moment since his health is worsening. Zhang kneels in front of Zhao's wheelchair and explains that the life of Dan is a temporary cure, which can give Zhao good health for only a year before he returns to his previous self. He tells Zhao and his companion, Wang, that the life of Dan is the last product from his master, and it cannot be made again. Zhang lies to them that he asked his master the last time they met, and he assured him that the life Dan can suppress Zhao's illness. Zhao thanks Zhang and tells him that he is ready to live a good life for a year, which is enough for him to do whatever he likes. Zhang explains how Life Dan works and tells him that for a full year, all his injuries and health issues will be cured, but after then, the effect of Life Dan will weigh off and he agrees. He gives Zhao the Life Dan to swallow and instantly, he began to feel changes in his body, and he sprang up from his wheelchair to move around. He leads Zhang out for their journey to Lingquan and orders a bottle of wine because he has been wanting to drink one. Zhang notices that Zhao's mood has considerably improved as he chats away during the flight and directs the attendant to run errands for him. At their destination, they are received by Director Sun and other people who are overexcited to meet them. Zhang tries to understand the relationship between Zhao and the men as he does not know him to associate with a lot of people except Wu Tangxi. Zhao makes the introduction between Zhang and Director Sun begins to give them precautions about the city. Zhao says nice things about Director Sun and how important he is to Zhang on their way out of the airport, but Director Sun tries to behave humble by telling Zhang that he is only an ordinary man in the city. He gives Zhang his card to contact him whenever he needs something and brings back his attention to Zhao. He asks him about his health and how he managed to be cured after the best doctors tried to heal him without a breakthrough. Zhao tells him that Zhang is responsible for his healing and Director Sun tells him that he must be very talented. He begs Zhang to also examine him because he has been down with constant headaches. Zhang tries to tell him that he is not very good with medicine, but the man thinks that he is modest and waves off the comment. Without experiencing any traffic, they arrive at the Castle Peak Villa to see the old man whom Director Sun works for. Zhang takes note of his environment and remembers from history that the castle is not a place for random people, and it is owned by Meng Zhongzheng, who was famous in China's military and political circle, alongside Zhao Wuji's father, who was his subordinate. Inside the castle, the old man offers them a seat while Zhang continues his assessment of the man and his property. The old man begins to interact with them, and he informs Zhao that he heard of his illness and thought that Zhao would possibly die before him. He expresses his anger at the fact that Zhao did not come to him while he was sick. Zhao tells him that he has a year more to live because of Zhang, whom he constantly refers to as his brother. The old man tells Zhao that 1 year is not good enough because he promised his father that he would take care of him like his grandson. Therefore, he will call someone to treat him. Zhao insists and tells him to give his inheritance to Zhang because he trusts him. The old man decides to indulge Zhang by asking him if he can save his grandson Zhao. Zhang tells him that his uncle can do it, though his methods are questionable. Though he calmly talks and interacts with them, Zhang is angry within himself because he does not have the required prestige points to save him. The old man begs Zhang to try and vows that he will be greatly rewarded if he can save Zhao, and even if he cannot fully save him, he will live by the agreement. They begin to argue among themselves and the old man gets mad at Zhao because he is 40, but he does not always act like his age. The old man dismisses everyone because he is tired and tells them to look around the place and rest so that later they will revisit the issue. As they walk out, he calls them back and cautions them to be careful with the people they associate with, because his influence may not be enough to save them from some evil powers around Linquan. Director Sum explains that the old man is referring to a troublesome kid who has become a terror within the place because the old man named a different heir. He begs Zhang to avenge him and beat up the kid if he can because he has influenced his son negatively, which he does not like. Zhang thinks that he has entered into a bad situation, but he keeps his cool and listens to everything Director Sun and Wine told him. As they continued walking, the troublesome Menghuang that they were talking about showed up with threats for Wang. Wang is unable to answer or confront him because he has an embarrassing video about him that he can post on YouTube to destroy him and his career in martial arts. Director's son quickly takes Wang away to avoid further embarrassment and leaves Jinan with the troublesome Menghuang. Zhang is very uncomfortable with him because of the way he continuously tries to touch him while talking to him. Menghuang walks Zhang to his car and Zhang cringes at the unnecessarily vain plate number. Menghuang tells him not to complain and rather feel worthy to ride in his exotic car, because everyone in the city knows that the car belongs to him, which is a form of honor. He tells Zhang that even though he hates Zhao, he will make Zhang have fun and will not punish him with hatred. He fails to notice that Zhang is not comfortable with everything he is doing, especially his frequent touch. Menghuang continues to ramble on and on about the old man and how he is only accommodating Zhang in his city because he has promised to be nice to him. He sees Zhang as a village boy who is not up to his standard as a city boy, and this amuses Zhang, but he says nothing to him. Instead, he realizes why Zhao told him to show no mercy to him. On the way to their destination, Menghuang badmouths Zhao and tells Zhang not to associate with him anymore as he is of no use. He tells him to be close to his grandfather, the old man who will in turn reward him with anything he wants. Zhang is angry at the statement against Zhao and Menghuang, challenges him to a fight, telling him that he cannot do anything to him because he owns the city. They arrive at a hangout spot to meet other people their age, both boys and girls who are already speculating to see Menghuang's new friend. Zhang drags him out of the car and begins to beat him. Menghuang struggles to free himself while shouting that even the old man does not beat him, but Zhang does not let go. Menghuang's friends rose with bottles to fight Zhang on his behalf, but they only stood at a distance to threaten Zhang. He orders them to retaliate on his behalf, but Zhang dodges them. All hell broke loose with Menghuang, who grew red with anger at Zhang's audacity in his city. He tells Zhang that Zhao is only an adopted grandson, but he is the real grandson of the old man, so he should be treated with respect. Zhang angrily shuts him up and tells him that he is only a sad little boy who does not know the true meaning of hardship, and if he cannot face off with him, he should get someone to do that, or else he would keep receiving the beating. The girls that were initially waiting for Menghuang began to fawn over Zhang and his courage to confront Menghuang, which further annoys him. He rushes away to his car to get a gun, but Zhang is unfazed by the action. Rather, he continues to allow the girls to distract him. Menghuang rushes back with threats to shoot Zhang, and Zhang taunts him by calling him gay because of his pink hair and the way he was constantly touching Zhang as he talked. This pisses off Menghuang, and he becomes angry again. Zhang tells him that he cannot shoot the gun and that he is only showing off. He taunts him to prove that he is not gay by looking at the girls, and while he does that, Zhang snatches the gun from him and Menghuang begins to beg him. Menghuang promises to take him as his brother and vows not to cause trouble anymore. He tries to turn everything into a joke that it is their way of welcoming people to Linquan, and he was not trying to make trouble in any way. Menghuang quickly announces to everyone present that Zhang is his brother and should be treated with the utmost respect. The girls began to argue among themselves over who should have his attention or not. As they were going to eat, Jiang remained vigilant in case Meng Huang had other tricks up his sleeves to play. One of the girls offers him food as he prepares to dig in. Meng Huang calls him to watch out. Jiang understands that Meng Huang may try to double-cross him, so he spent 10 prestige points to check the food and discovered that the wine was drugged before he was given, but he pretended not to know. Now, he sees men with sticks and some others dressed in army uniforms approaching him, but he continues to act nonchalantly while making plans on how to deal with them in his mind. Meng Huang saunters to Jiang's front with pride to announce that he underestimated him earlier, which was a mistake, but he has now drugged him and will take his revenge. Meng Huang instructs Jiang to fall at his feet and beg because he has the place surrounded by 70 to 80 men and the drugs will soon kick in to make him weak, but he will be saved if he grovels at his feet. Meng Huang went all out in preparing his revenge, including the poisoned wine, the thugs and some military men in case the first two did not work out. The thugs rush towards Jiang to attack him in hopes that they will be able to impress Meng Huang and gain favors from him. The military men stand to the side to observe the fight and wonder if the thugs will be any match for Jiang. The military boys tell their master that the thugs can handle Jiang and they will not need to intervene in the action. Meng Huang went through a lot of trouble to get the military guys into the open for his intentions, but the leader of the military guys began to consider a retreat with the way Jiang was handling the thugs in front of him. By the way, the girls cheer for Jiang as he fights his way through the thugs. Meng Huang grew angry that after all he had to go through to bring the military guys, they had refused to fight for him. He began to insult them, and they threatened to report him to their higher authority who will deal with him regardless of his family. One of the soldiers moves closer to Meng Huang and whispers to him that Jiang has the strength to send everyone on his path to the hospital, including Meng Huang, so to avoid that embarrassment, he should consider retreating. As they are watching him, they observe that he is in the class of the national masters, and to fight against those kinds of people, 4 helicopters and 20 snipers before they can win him. The military boss reveals that only a handful of people in the whole country can compete with Jiang's skills, and even then, with his abilities, he is a high step master. There are only about 3 such people. Each one is hidden and mysterious, and cannot be seen easily. The soldiers start to make fun of Meng Huang that he has revealed the 4th person with such abilities, and that makes him a lucky person who could easily win a lottery game if he tried with such luck. Meng Huang hugs Jiang and begins to beg him for pardon again, that his previous attempt was also a joke. But Jiang was not having it. He decides to teach him a lesson so that he will not become worse when he grows up. Meanwhile, the girls are still in a corner begging for his attention and wondering why he is ignoring them even though they are very attractive. Jiang pulls Meng Huang closer and gives him a stern warning to stop trying him in any way because he will no longer take it. He tells him that he has only decided to overlook his wrongdoings because of the old man and not because of Meng Huang himself. As he talks to him, Meng Huang barely pays attention to all he is being told because he is busy thinking about whether he is straight or not. After the warning, he behaves like a humble person and makes a promise to Jiang that he will no longer be troublesome. Captain Yang Yang steps forward and introduces himself to Jiang as the head of the Red Knife Army. Jiang introduces himself as a professor at Tiandu University to Captain Yang Yang, and Meng Huang wonders when he became a professor because he works for Zhao Wuji. The captain tells Jiang that since he is Zhou's protege, he hopes to work with him in future. He tells Jiang that they have heard of him from different people within his city, which is not pleasing to Jiang. Captain Yang Yang tells him that they should have dinner together later as he needs to report back to base at the moment, so that they will get to know each other better. Their conversation annoys Meng Huang, and he accuses Captain Yang Yang of trying to take his brother away. Captain Yang Yang tells Meng Huang that he is going to let everyone know that he is a coward, and that nobody will work for him or agree to wine and dine with him anymore. After he left with his group, Jiang asks Meng Huang about him, and Meng Huang tells him that he is the hidden son of the emperor and an important person within the place. Captain Yang Yang is the youngest and brightest person in the military, and Meng Huang tells Jiang that in the future he will be a force to reckon with since he already has so much achievement. Meng Huang explains Captain Yang Yang's ancestry to Jiang and why he is seen as someone of great importance, and Jiang compares the information with what he learned from Zhao. After waiting for Jiang's attention without getting it, the girls cut into the conversation, telling Meng Huang that it is now their turn to speak with Jiang. The girls offered to take him to a luxurious hotel with a good place for him to eat and relax, and he follows them. Meng Huang is upset that Jiang did not take his car, but he is taking Director Sun Sun's car, and stomps away angrily. On the way to the hotel, the system upgrades Zhang with 100,000 prestige points and performs new upgrades for him. The system informs Zhang that there is a new mission and it involves important details. The mission is named King of Heaven with a reward of 300 points or an advance free draw converted 3 times. However, if he fails the mission, 300 prestige points will be deducted, and if he does not meet the requirement, he will face a heavy penalty, and his abilities will be decreased. If the penalty is not enough, his life will be decreased by 10,000 points per year. The mission is to take about a year, and it must include certain places. Zhang confronts the system that the mission is too difficult, but the system tries to make him see the advantage of taking up the task. He tells Zhang that his prestige points will be gained at a higher rate, and more people can contribute for him, which will make him faster. Zhang tries to observe the weapons at his disposal for the mission, but they are different from the modern standard. He complains that the requirements of the mission are confusing and too much, because he cannot fight with swords in the modern age when he can use guns. The upgrade continues, and he obtains the mastery of gambling out of everything else that he could have been given, but he accepts it grudgingly. The girls wake Zhang from his sleep as they arrive at their destination. Manhwa also comes and asks one of the followers named Dry if he prepared the hall, and he explains how they got other people to move away for them. Everyone tries to please Zhang and get on his good side because of his new reputation. The other people they displaced from the hall came to confront Manhwa, and they get into a heated argument. Manhwa threatens them that he is the emperor of the city, and he has the backing of Zhao Wuji, but it does not scare the people. As they continue their argument, the Southern Tiger, Mao Chengshin, arrives and asks Manhwa to explain his last statement. The Southern Tiger from Xinjiang, Mao Chengshin, is the chief police officer at the government department, and Zhang is in awe of him. Manhwa inwardly cringes at this mistake of making a statement that insulted the man. He refuses to admit it. Instead, he begs for more trouble by telling him that he said what he said because he does not think the Southern Tiger has any ability. If not, he would have defeated Zhao Wuji in their confrontation long ago. The men in the Southern Tiger's entourage become angry at Manhwa's audacity to speak to their boss in such a manner, but he holds them back and tells Manhwa that his issue with Zhao Wuji is not his business. The Southern Tiger informs Manhwa that he had earlier booked the room, therefore he has to use it. Zhang, who has been watching the exchange, finally intervenes, and by telling the Southern Tiger that they are all reputable people and should not fight. Since they are already there, he tells the Southern Tiger to let them finish and leave, then he can have the place to himself or look for a new location. The Southern Tiger's men become angry once more at such audacity to challenge their boss and ask to know who he is. The Southern Tiger boasts that he has an elite force with him comprising of men from the police command and some other noble people who can easily take him up, but Zhang does not look bothered by his rant. Instead, he calmly introduces himself as Jiang Bai of Taindu. On hearing this, the Southern Tiger tells him that he has been waiting for the opportunity to meet him, but they will continue another time and exits with his people. Jiang tells Manhwa not to jubilate, because the matter is not yet over but has just begun. He tells them that Zhao Wuji and the Southern Tiger had issues because his wife left him for Zhao, since he wanted power more than her, and he is still out for revenge. After dining together, Durai takes Zhang and everyone to a new club that just opened. He informs Zhang that his friend specially brought girls from the nearby college for the opening ceremony, and Zhang thanks him for the gesture. Inside the club, Dry locates his female friend Dan, who accuses him of making them bored because of the long wait. Dry introduces her to his people as his friend from the nearby college who brought her friends to the club for a celebration. A girl named Yudi tries to make conversation with Zhang and asks what he does for a living, but he pays little attention to her and only gives one-word answers to her questions. Zhang tells her that he is a teacher, and she automatically cusses her luck for getting paired up with someone that has a low-paying job. Dan walks up to the pair and greets Zhang. She excuses Yidi and offers to talk to her on his behalf. Taking her to the side, Dan informs Yadi that Dry would give her 200 if she spends time with Zhang, and she agrees. Zhang listens to their conversation and cusses Dry for offering money to the girl for her to spend time with him. Dan leaves them alone, and Yudi moves closer to him and offers to pour his drink in a more friendly manner, unlike when they first started talking. Zhang settles down and becomes at ease with her, and they both begin to talk in their own space while everyone else minded their business. For about 10 minutes, Yi entertains and attends to him, and she regularly refills his drink, which he likes. Later, Dan pulls Yidi away because she is enjoying herself way too much. The other girls join them and they head to the restroom together for a discussion. Dan tells Yidi that she'll give her the details of what she is to do in the restroom, but she needs to take the opportunity to take Jiang to the hotel room, where they will set the plan she is to tell her in motion. Jiang is now alone since the girls went to the restroom together, and Dry uses the opportunity to talk to him. He asks if Jiang is interested in Yidi, and if he would like to take her home, and Jiang confronts him about the 200 payment. Dry tells Jiang that he is misunderstanding the issue because he is only trying to help a poor girl in need. Earlier, Dan whispered to him that Yai is a naive and innocent girl in need of a rich guy to entertain to earn money to open a flower shop with her boyfriend, so he decided to help her with the money so that another person will not take advantage of her. Jiang thinks that he still got played even though Dan and Dry are trying to do what is best for Yadi, but he says nothing to Dry and just continued to look at the clubgoers who are having fun on the dance floor. On the way back from the bathroom, Dan calls out to Dry by his real name, Mai San, to save her because a pervert is harassing her on the dance floor. Manhwa and Dry rush to attack them in their usual aggressive manner, and they order the guy to leave Dan and the other girls alone because they belong to them. The guy insists that he just wants to have fun with them for a bit and return them afterwards, but Manhwa and Dry were not having it. Manhwa and Dry become angry that they were referring to the girls in that manner, and they decide to teach them how to be a gentleman. A fight ensued between both groups and Manhwa and Dry injured the other boys. Wang Xiu, the injured guy, tells his boys to do something, but Manhwa threatens them not to come close or they will face his wrath. He tells Zhang to praise him for acting cool, and he applauds them for defending the girls. The other boys vow that it is not over as they leave the club. One of the guys in the crowd tells the others that they should fulfill Wang Xiu's orders by picking a fight with Manhwa. Zhang is alarmed because he cannot allow anything to happen to Manhwa as it will affect Zhao Wuji and the old man, so he intervenes and commands everyone to stop. The girls see Zhang's actions as a noble one, and they immediately flock around him to ask questions and fawn over him. Yidi asks him if he teaches of any of the guys that showed up, and Dan's friend gushes over Zhang. Just as everything began to wind down and the shouting stopped, one of Wang Xiu's guys confronts Manhwa and his guys again that his father is from the Dongqing police district, so they cannot come at him. Zhang watches the exchange from behind and says nothing because he knows that Manhwa can handle the boy. Manhwa tells his boys to whack the boy, and another fight started on the dance floor. All the thugs began to fight each other, but Manhwa's boys had the upper hand and they beat the opposing guys mercilessly. Just then, the police enter the place and command everyone to freeze, while they began to search the crowd. The boy's father calls for an ambulance to take his son to the hospital and asks to see who attacked his son. Manhwa fearlessly tells him that he is trying to use the law to cover up for his bad son, and the policeman tells his officers to have him arrested because he is part of the people from the underworld. One of the opposing boys manages to stand up, and he points out the members of Manhwa's group, including Jiang and the girls, but he tells the police that Jiang and the girls were not part of the fight. The police made the arrest, and all the girls were crying over getting arrested and possibly getting expelled from the school. Jiang tells them not to worry. At the Dongqing District Police Station, a senior officer tells Xiu Zhang that he is in luck because they have some people for him to interrogate, and they are hoping that he will do them proud by not messing up the interrogation. Xiu Zhang eagerly promises his superior that he will not let them down, and he will get every information from them. Yuan, Director Sun's son, Zhang, and Dry seats together, while the girls fearfully huddle together in one spot. Manhwa sits in a separate place and acts nonchalantly as they await interrogation. Xiu Zhang walks in and Manhwa begins to mock them that he is not afraid of a little boy like him. Xiu Zhang becomes angry and lets them know that he will not take any insults from them because he is not a kid. He starts the interrogation with Yuan, who purposely makes Xiu Zhang angry by telling him that he is unemployed when he was asked what he does for a living. The other officer holds Xiu Zhang from beating Yuan, who is unbothered by Xiu Zhang's actions. Xiu lets go of Yuan's rudeness and asks for his guardian's name. He gives his parents' name and their portfolio, and when the policemen realized who his parents were in society, they knew they were in trouble. Yuan tells them that they are yet to realize the extent of the trouble they have caused themselves, because the other boy's parents have more reputation than his parents in the city. One of the police officers takes a closer look at Dry and recognizes him as Mai San, one of their top boss's sons. Each of the boys began to drop their family names, and the young officers began to cry and curse their boss for putting them in trouble to save his troublesome son. The young officers resolve that they may not have jobs to go back to anymore. But just then they receive a call to let the boys and girls go, and they revolve that maybe they still have a chance. Secretary Huang Yuling, the father of the boys, screams at Xiao Zhang for letting the criminals go when he did not authorize their release. He asks Xiao Zhang to mention to the person that gave him orders to release the criminals and why he would defy his orders, but Xiao Zhang sarcastically tells him that people are afraid of dying and not afraid of him. Just then, Secretary Huang Yuling hears his name from the doorway, and his eyes widen in realization because he was backing the door. His boss, Shou Zhengyue, tells him that he wrongly arrested people even though his son is the real criminal, and abused his subordinates because he handed over power to him while he was away. Another officer handcuffs Secretary Huang Yuling and leads him away while Meng Huang hugs his uncle Xiao for coming to his rescue. He begins to cry and exaggerates the whole issue that they were trying to kill him, and Zhang calls him a spoiled brat. After leaving the police station, Zhang went back to the house with Yai to hang out. In the morning, Zhou Wuji calls to find out if Zhang enjoyed himself with the activities of the previous day. Zhang tells him to say the real reason for the call, and Zhou Wuji tells him that someone informed him that Zhang returned home the previous day with a girl and he got curious. He tells Zhang to prepare himself for a meeting with one of his old friends who has something to offer them. Zhang asks for the details of the meeting, and Zhou Wuji tells him that they are meeting Lai Qingdi, one of the 4 overlords of the Dragon Emperor underworld. Zhang immediately sits up from the bed and requests for the time and location of the meeting, so that he will prepare. Zhou Wuji offers to send a car to pick Zhang up and ended the call. Meanwhile, Didi wakes up to the call and eavesdrops on the conversation. She thinks that it would be good for her if she can look for a way to marry Zhang. Zhang thinks that the meeting must be important for Zhou Wuji to invite him to tag along, and decides to go and hear what it is about. He asks if she can follow him to the meeting, and he permits her since they were going to eat. Zhang prepares for the meeting with Yai, and they leave the house together. On their way, they meet Meng Huang and his companions, and he asks where Zhang was headed to. Zhang tells him that he is meeting up with a friend, and Meng Huang is surprised that Zhang has another friend in the city aside from him. Meng Huang tells him that it is a meeting with Lai Qingdi, one of the 4 overlords of the Dragon Emperor underworld. He tells them that they are free to come along if they want to accompany him, and Zhou Wuji will also be at the meeting. Meng Huang is not familiar with the name, but Dry and Yuan think that they may be unworthy to share a table with someone like Lai Qingdi. The boys consider that they may be sent out of the place if they try to go with Zhang, but Zhang does not see it that way. Since they refuse to go, he leaves with Yai, but Meng Huang tells him that Yai is unqualified to attend such meetings because of the kind of people that will be there. Yi agrees not to go and begs Zhang to call her after the meeting. Zhang arrives at the meeting venue to meet bodyguards everywhere, and he understood that the meeting must be serious and dignified. Inside the meeting place, he sees Lai Qingdi and considers him a harmless man because of his appearance. Zhou Wuji welcomes Zhang and introduces him to Lai Qingdi, but he tells Zhang that he prefers to be called Shuji. Zhang is surprised because the director Shuji knows is a famous philanthropist who is the director of the Charity Federation. Not only is he a giver, but he is a simple person who avoids conflict. Lai Qingdi acts humble and tells Zhang not to mind all that Zhou Wuji have said because the position suits him and allows him to be charitable towards family and friends, and also benefits him in avoiding conflict and helping people to resolve conflicts. Zhang is also introduced to the Tiger of Southern Xinjiang, King Yin Zidao, who is a powerful fist master and one of the 3 first step masters in China. Zhang walks in like a boss and seats among the elders without greeting them, which King Yin Zidao considers rude, because he believes elders should be respected. Zhang observes that the man's qi is strong and watches him as he controls objects around him. Lai Qingdi tells Zhou Wuji that Zhang is too young to be his successor, so King Yin will have to test his abilities. Zhou Wuji admits that Zhang is quite young, and in order to stabilize their overall power and reputation, they are capable of handling anyone who dares to offend them, so Zhang is not to be underestimated. Zhang is to face off with Shi Chengsheng to test his abilities, because the others are doubting him. King Yin Zidao swiftly attacks Zhang, and he manages to contain the blow with his fist. Zhou Wuji commends King Yin Zidao's fastness and the way he carries himself as he continues to go against Zhang. Zhang pulls a stunt to stop the next attack from King Yin Zidao, which surprises the older man. Jiang tells King Yanzidao that he is not too bad because he blocked a 1,000-pound force, but his fist is stronger than he thinks. He dashes off again and tells King Yanzidao to follow him, and the old man increases his speed because he does not want such a young person to win a challenge against him. King Yanzidao dodges into the air and holds out his hand against Jiang within the air, but Jiang dodges to the side and tells him that he has clearly underestimated his power. King Yanzidao thinks that Jiang must be distracted by all the talking and decides to use the opportunity to go after him, but again, Jiang proves his ability to the old man be escaping from him. King Yanzidao wonders how it is possible for Jiang to do all he is doing, but he says nothing because he refuses to let Jiang see his effect on him. Jiang asks him if he would like to continue, and they start another round of intense fighting. Lai Qingdi admits that after seeing Jiang for himself, he now believes that there is someone that can surpass Shi Changxing and even follow in his footsteps. King Yanzidao comes to a halt and makes the peace sign. He admits Jiang's talent and tells him that he is yet to see anyone like him in 100 years, and he may just be the strongest in China and may attain it in the world, but he cannot date Shi Changxing yet. Jiang asks King Yanzidao how it is possible that even with the system's help, he is unfit to challenge and defeat Shi Changxing. King Yanzidao tells him that 15 years ago, he met Shi Changxing and lost miserably. He describes the encounter for them, which leaves them with a cold feeling. Shi Changxing only used a single finger stroke for him, and he was bedridden for 3 years until he recovered fully from the dreadful experience. Zhao Wuji tells Jiang not to bother about Shi Changxing because he cannot be fully described to Jiang's understanding at the moment. But he promises that he will not be a problem to Jiang in any way, and tells him not to feel too bad about what they have told him. Lai Qingdi tells Jiang that all those who believe in superiority and dominance will suffer loss at the hands of Shi Changxing at least once in their lives. Everyone admits that it is a sore subject that they should not discuss, and they propose to have a drink instead. Someone mentions the woman that Lai Qingdi lost to Shi Changxing, and he grew upset and threatens to not entertain the person anymore. Jiang receives news that he can get back to work the next day, and he decides to check on the company's reports. At the company, Miss Yowei sits on Jiang, which makes him uncomfortable, because someone can walk in on them. Someone enters the office to meet Miss Yowei and Jiang in that compromising position and immediately apologizes to the duo. Jiang complains about Miss Yowei's conduct, and she tells him that it is only a harmless misunderstanding. Jiang tells her that she should take care of herself as a female so that she will get someone special to marry her, because she cannot continue to work for him for the rest of her life. Jiang tells her that he has classes in the afternoon, so she should not bother with working too much. He gives her with items he bought during his travel and tells her that he has sent them to her house. When he left the office, Miss Yowei adjusts her makeup and thinks that Jiang is not bad and she could possibly make a move on him. Jiang gets occupied with his work schedule and focuses on them. After one of his lectures, he texts Wixingson, and she tells him about her activities while he was away. Wixingson gets suggestive with the text that they can end up in bed, which upsets Jiang. Jiang suddenly begins to wonder what was wrong with all the girls he has encountered recently, and complains that he just wants a normal date like going to the movies, but it has become almost impossible. In the middle of his rant, he receives a call from Yao Wei asking him on a dinner date, and he accepts. She tells him that she will send him the time and location of the date after setting it up. After ending the call, Yao Wei is surprised that he did not reject her request. At dinner, she thanks him for not rejecting her request for a date and declares that Jiang is hers for the night. If you like this recap, do let me know in the comments, and obviously leave your like too. Do not forget to share with your friends and subscribe. Above all, activate your notification bell so you don't miss the next recap when it drops. Until next time, do take care and stay safe.